UX design intern at Red Hat this summer, so I'm trying to wear as much red as possible, but I'm going to take you through my day. So it is currently around 10 a.m. and I try to start off my day with the homemade acai bowl because I'm basic and trendy and hip, but yeah. So just to give a little bit more background on Red Hat and what they do, Red Hat is a multinational software company, and their branding and positioning really revolves around open source, enterprise-ready technologies. And so that's a lot of words, but really at the core of Red Hat is something called Red Hat Enterprise Linux. And if you've ever taken CS240, you've probably seen Red Hat pop up somewhere in the terminal, but really that's what's at the core of Red Hat. It's basically a personally curated version of Linux, which adds a lot of features that make it easier to monitor and to manage it. And so the co-founder came up with this version, and that's how Red Hat was born, and that's how they made their first $1 million. They sold basically this box set of Red Hat Enterprise Linux. And so nowadays they have built an entire portfolio of different products. But I think this image does a really good job at summarizing what Red Hat is exactly. So at the core you have, like I said, Red Hat Enterprise Linux, or RHEL for short. And then on top of that, they've built this hybrid cloud infrastructure. And on top of that, that allows them to work on cloud native development. And then on top of that, there's this added layer of management and automation. So really they work on a whole variety of products that range from like IT infrastructure to cloud computing to containers to everything. But really this Red Hat Enterprise Linux is at the core, and that's what they're most known for. So that's usually what most people think of when they hear of Red Hat. So I am working on something called OpenShift. And so OpenShift is one of Red Hat's products. So I'm working on OpenShift, the OpenShift container platform. And so this took me a while to understand, so I'll try to explain it as simply as possible. But if you think in a more abstract way, there are these technologies called containers. And so containers are just abstractions. If you think about it, it's exactly that. Within one container, it contains everything that you need to run a single application. So it has all of the server runtimes, all the environment, everything is within this one box called a container. And so what OpenShift Container Platform is, it's exactly a platform for enterprises to keep track of their application development, which is built on top of these containers. And so what I'm doing is I'm working on the design of the platform, so that ranges from like the dashboard to all these different terms. But yeah. So I am about to go into my first meeting of the day, which is a weekly OpenShift ecosystem UXD sync, which is basically a big Google Meet with a bunch of the UXD team, and they go over some small tasks and UXD problems and the solutions that some of the team have come up with. And so next up I have my second meeting of the day. So I picked a day where I have a lot of meetings just so that I can talk through each one and give a little sneak peek of each one. But this one that I'm heading into is called Patternfly Community Meeting. And so Patternfly is also something that I work pretty closely with. It is Red Hat's design system. And if you're not familiar with what a design system is, it's basically something that most big companies use to keep their design consistent. So to keep the design of all their products across all their platforms very consistent. And so it's basically like a big design library with all the same components, all the same icons, fonts, everything, just to keep everything very consistent across all platforms. And so this meeting actually doesn't happen regularly, so I'm not sure what's going to happen. But they're going to go over Patternfly's content, accessibility. In between meetings, I usually work on small tasks that I'm assigned, and so to keep track of everything that I need to do, my mentor provided me with this super helpful Google Sheet, which basically just gives a rough idea of all the tasks that I'm assigned. And so you can see here that I'm currently working on a few things, on a few issues that can either be a part of a bigger story or epic. But I'm working right now on a few OpenShift and Patternfly things, and this allows me to just keep a really good track of all the documents that I need, all the deadlines, and when they were last updated, and it's extremely useful. And so a few productivity tools that I really like to use are Todoist, which is basically just like a to-do list that allows me to keep track of everything that I need to do. And then Tomato Timer sometimes, which is a Pomodoro timer, which is a method for working and for productivity. It's basically, I think, 25 minutes of working and then a 5-minute break, and then you repeat. And I think the third break is 20 minutes long. But I'd highly recommend that. And yeah, in terms of design tools that are really neat, I use a lot of Chrome extensions. So for example, some good ones are What Font, that allow you to check out whatever font is on a web page. Colorzilla, which is basically like an eyedropper tool where you can pick out a color from anywhere on the page. Color Tab is a really cool one. Every time you open up a new tab, there's this new color palette. It's very aesthetic. And then Video Speed Controller is a big one because I had to go through training, which is not great. Well, it just wasn't riveting. So being able to control the speed on any video at all is super helpful. And then we also use like the inspect tool. So if you're on any page and you right click, there should be an inspect button where you can basically look at the HTML of any web page. So that is also very useful. So in terms of design prototypes, we mostly use Sketch. So I spend a lot of time in the Sketch app. And then we also work hand in hand with Marvel, which is another prototyping tool, which integrates really well with Sketch. So all you have to do is download a plugin, and then you're able to sync your Sketch designs into Marvel. And so Marvel is just a way to really easily view these designs and for people to comment on them and to share them really easily. In terms of Agile tools that we use, I think it's pretty varied across the board, but we use things such as Jira, ZenHub, and then GitHub also has something pretty similar. But all of them are just Scrum methodologies, so basically just like methods to keep track of things to do. So usually it will just be a column with backlog, in progress, and done, and then you have these little cards that you can shift so that you can keep track of all the tasks at hand. In terms of communication, we mostly use Slack. But then there is also like an intern Discord, which is kind of just chaos, and then also some Google Chats, which are terrible. Don't use Google Chat. It's like probably the worst thing Google has ever made. No offense. And then in terms of video meetings, we mostly use BlueJeans for more professional like meetings, calls, and then Google Meet for more casual discussions. Peep the ramen. Anyway, so the biggest project that I'm working on right now is kind of twofold. So the first part involves creating cards in Patternfly. So what that means is that I am helping update the card designs that will later become a part of the Patternfly design kit. And so what I've done is that I've helped update these different types of cards, which are basically just ways to visualize data and information. And so the different types of cards that we have right now are details cards, status cards, utilization cards, trend cards, and events cards. And so these will become a part of the Patternfly design kit and will so anyone will be able to go onto patternfly.org and download that. And so what they'll end up having is a sketch library with all of these different components that users can later edit according to their own needs. And so that's the first part. The second part is using those cards and updating OpenShift dashboards with those cards. So the idea is that users who enter the OpenShift console, the first thing that they see is this big dashboard with a bunch of data and information regarding their applications and their clusters and all of that tech jargon. And so the idea is that I am mocking up OpenShift dashboards using these updated cards that I made that are part of the Patternfly design kit, and then also making a lot of small functional updates. So we get a lot of feedback from stakeholders and users on different design problems and different challenges that they're facing, and so what I'm doing is taking those into account and then designing accordingly so that I can fix those problems. And so what's really cool about Red Hat is that since open source is so central to their core being, basically everything that I am working on I can show you, because everything actually is open source and is available on GitHub. So you can actually you can download all of this, you can even look at it yourself, but I can give you a sneak peek of the way things are right now. And so this is what the OpenShift dashboard looks like currently. So this is the console. So I'm actually living in my own place for the summer, so I can give you a little workspace tour, but it's very not impressive. So this is my workspace area. She's not much, she's very modest, but I like this area a lot. So I have this one kitchen counter that I enjoy a lot because of the natural lighting, and then also I have another space over there that I'll also show you, but I really like this because it feels like a collaborative workspace. So this is a more big boss workspace for when I want to feel like a CEO, but this desk is decked out with like a laptop stand, keyboard, mouse. It's got everything I could ever need. So I'm about to have a one-on-one with my mentor Gina, who actually graduated from Tufts pretty recently and is now a full-time interaction designer at Red Hat. So it's always nice to have someone who was a recent intern turned full-time, just to have someone to talk to in the same age range. So we're just going to go over my work and life, and it's always very, very beneficial to have an agenda for all of your meetings, just so that you can feel productive and make sure that you go through everything that you want to. So something else that I work on is updating the Patternfly website. And so right now, a small issue that I'm working on is going through the website and then fixing all of the broken links. And so what I do for that is I go through everything, document it, create an issue on GitHub, and then open up Visual Studio Code, and then go into the Markdown file and just like edit things and update things. And so this is the only time when I actually get to feel like a coder. I just beep boop, my CS major coming through, but it's very simple stuff. So I am about to hop on to another call, which is the Patternfly design doc planning, which is basically just reviewing design documentation issues at the beginning of every sprint, and then people can volunteer to take up issues that they want to work on. So I believe that sprints usually last 3 weeks each for both Patternfly and OpenShift, I think. So the UX design interns actually set up some informal chats. So we have this weekly Google Meets that I'll show you. I got everyone's permission to wave, but it was very laggy, so you'll probably see like 1 frame per second of them. But yeah, it's a very chill thing. The UX design interns are very close, and I think there are 9 of them, including both UX interaction design interns and UX writing interns, who are in charge of writing content for the user experience. So yeah, that was my day. I hope you enjoyed. I usually try to aim for 8 to 5 and then have an hour lunch break. But that kind of varies and no one really keeps track, so it's okay. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and if you have any questions or comments, just feel free to comment them below. Yeah, I'm really enjoying my internship so far, and yeah, I honestly only have good things to say, so hit me up if you're interested. I can actually refer people, so yeah.